हेलो एवरीवन, वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग। वेलकम टू टेस्टबुक सुपर कोचिंग फॉर रेगुलेटरी बॉडीज एंड आज के इस करंट अफेयर्स के सेशन में आप सबका स्वागत है। टुडे वी आर सेलिब्रेटिंग नेशनल स्टार्टअप डे in 2016, 16th of Jan 2016 we started with the Startup India, Stand Up India scheme, and to cherish or to celebrate the foundation of Startup India scheme, every year we are celebrating 16th of Jan as a National Startup Day. From 2022, Government of India decided to celebrate this day, and every year function is being organized by Commerce and Industry Ministry, and under that celebration, that function, National Startup Awards also given by the Government of India. We'll talk about the awards in tomorrow's session because today Government of India is going to give these awards. So we'll talk about awards later on in tomorrow's session. But what exactly this startup mean for India, the development of startup in our country. We'll talk about those numbers. We'll talk about government schemes, initiatives, some portals, and some important factors in today's session. But at the end of the session, right now, our major focus will be on current affairs MCQs in the beginning, and then we'll talk about the rest of the part. Again, I'm repeating, the National Startup Day we are celebrating. The celebration started from 2022, and why we are celebrating? Because 16th of Jan 2016 we started with the Startup India, Stand Up India scheme. So 9 years we have completed the 9 years. Success is very good with this scheme, and we'll start with the session. Once again, very good morning to all of you. Before going to start this session, if you are yet to subscribe our channel, please एक बार channel subscribe कर दीजिएगा, and please share this session also. So initially, like always, we'll discuss few MCQs and few news regarding the current affairs. So first question on your screen. Southeastern Coalfield Limited has launched dedicated post-retirement benefit cell to enable the welfare and convenience of its retired employee. Which organization is Southeastern Coalfield Limited a subsidiary of? It comes under comes under Ministry of Coal, and this subsidiary of this organization, which is a question for you, created a very important factor called as a dedicated post-retirement benefit cell. So it will be helpful for their retired employees to get all the benefits, to get information about all the benefits, and what are the issues if they are facing, they can get those issues solved through this particular cell. So the name of the institution is, of course, Coal India Limited. So Coal India Limited is the name of the authority under which Southeastern Coalfield Limited is working. Headquartered is in Chhattisgarh based organization, and this organization recently created this post-retirement cell. Very important news, but at the same time very simple and the straightforward news, not that difficult to remember or understand. We'll go to the next question. So answer is Coal India Limited. Yes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the 6.5 kilometers Zaimod tunnel in central Kashmir's Ganderbal district. What is the expenditure incurred for the construction of Zaimod tunnel by the Government of India? जी हाँ, इसका आंसर कर दीजिएगा. Ganderbal district of Jammu Kashmir, where we created this tunnel. It is one of the very important tunnel connecting Srinagar to Kargil. And on that particular route, we are creating multiple tunnels, and one of the important tunnels recently inaugurated by Prime Minister of India. So the question is, how much amount we have spent to construct this tunnel? So the budget of this tunnel, for which Government of India is working from 2015. So in May 2015, Government of India started the construction, completed in 2024, and finally inaugurated by the Prime Minister of India. So it is like 8650 feet above the sea level. So one of the very important, and the budget which Government of India spend on this particular construction is 2700 crore. That much amount of money we have spent for the construction of this tunnel. Again, this tunnel is basically connecting Gagangir to Sonmarg. So this is a 2-lane tunnel, 7.5 meter width is there for the emergency exit also. Very important tunnel, no doubt about that. There will be another tunnel, Zozila tunnel, which is under construction right now, and very soon that tunnel will also be in a operational or the working condition. So these two tunnels are of course important for 24/7 connectivity in this area. to safeguard the Indian army or defense forces from the landslide. Another thing will be important, of course, for the better tourism purposes. So for these reasons, this was recently inaugurated by the Prime Minister of India. We'll go to the next question. Which organization signed an agreement with the IIT Mandi and IIT Jammu for the development of wideband spectrum sensor ASIC chip? So recently, another agreement was also signed by the same institution with IIT Delhi, and with IIT Delhi for the 6G development. The one agreement with the Mandi, another agreement with the Ropar, one agreement with the Mandi and Jammu, IIT Jammu. So multiple agreements this organization is signing these days. So like DPIIT is signing multiple agreements with many industries to support the startup companies in India. Same way for the better connectivity development, better research in 6G, 5G as well as the connectivity angle. C.Dot signing multiple agreements with multiple institutions. So recently they signed agreement with the IIT Mandi and IIT Jammu. They also signed agreement with IIT Delhi, which I have discussed with you regarding the 6G development. That is a major focus. So remember that factor. C.Dot is the organization under Ministry of Telecommunication. So they have one fund called as the Telecom Technology Development Fund. So under this fund, Center for Development of Telemetrics signing multiple agreements for research for development. Jyotiraditya Scindia Sahab is the Minister of the Telecommunication Ministry. So under his leadership, these things being implemented by the C.Dot. Yes, so answer is C.Dot. We'll go to the next question. How much total investment has the Adani Group committed in Chhattisgarh for energy and the cement project? So recently Chhattisgarh government and Adani industry signed few agreements. One of the major agreement is for the renewable energy. Another agreement is for the cement project and the cement development. Many factories are already there regarding the cement industries in Chhattisgarh. And CSR project will be also implemented by the Adani industry. If any industry is building or establishing their industry or their different branches, different subsidiaries, so of course they are going to support for the CSR campaign also at the same time. That is usually happens in our country. So basically 65,000 crore investment in case of energy as well as cement project in Chhattisgarh going to create a huge employment generation, especially in Raipur, Korba and the Raigad districts of Chhattisgarh. That is a major factor. So recently Chief Minister Vishnu Dev Sai Sahab announced this with the help of Gautam Adani Sahab, who is a head of the Adani industry, that this 65,000 crore investment will be there in Chhattisgarh. Other than that, the CSR for education, healthcare, skill development, tourism will also be implemented, and Adani industry assured 10,000 crore investment with the CSR ways. So this 65,000 crore investment is of course for the electricity, renewable energy as well as for the for the cement development. There is a major factor. Okay, and 10,000 crore will be invested over the period of 4 years for healthcare, for education, for skill development and the tourism in Chhattisgarh. So this is a big agreement. The question can be asked, and the Chief Minister of Chhattisgarh, the name of the Chief Minister is also very important. So we'll go to the next question. How much is Bank of India planning to raise through its first dollar syndicate loan since 2012? So after 2012, now Bank of India is going to raise some foreign currency or some external commercial borrowing. So question is, how much $1 million they are expecting through these external borrowing sources? Syndicate, basically a group of institutions are going to provide loan to Bank of India. So after 2012, Bank of India is going to raise this money as one of the important public sector banks. So they are planning to raise $400 million. Now for this $400 million, they are going to sign agreements with multiple institutions. Okay. So the money will be raised through 3 or 4 or the 5 years, the tranches. So the division will be in a different way, like some loans will be short-term loans, some loans will be long-term loans, and this amount will be mostly international financial tech city. So यहाँ से usually ये पैसा raise करने की बात हो रही है. Syndicate facilities are basically multiple institutions are involved while providing this loan. Is called a syndicate. Okay, not from a single source, obviously from the multiple sources. Like last time we talked about the Bajaj Finance. We also discussed about the Shriram Finance. We also talked about the SBI. These organizations also raised money from the external sources in the dollars, and those sources were also a different kind of sources for short term as well as long term. The same point mentioned here by the Bank of India. Like SBI marketing 30 billion in syndicate facility and is planning to raise another borrowing as much as 1.25 billion. So this we have discussed earlier. 2012, $200 million raised by Bank of India in 2012. Now after so many years, finally 400 millions will be raised by the Bank of India. Now, why the banks are raising so much money? Because there is another news which we are going to discuss, like Bank of Baroda is also going to raise money from the market. Because deposits, the number of deposits are going down and banks required money because there is a huge demand of credit in the market, especially for the infrastructure project, especially for the industrial development. Banks required liquidity, and for that reason they are borrowing money from the market. So it's a kind of a regular practice. It happens. It's kind of a part of our circular economy. When the deposits goes down, banks need to borrow money from the market, and this is the thing which is happening. Now, who was elected as a treasurer of Indian Cricket Board? So BCCI. Recently, there is a change in the BCCI after Jai Shah Sahab become the president of or the chairperson of the ICC. After that, permanent changes taken place in our BCCI. President of the BCCI is Roger Binni Sahab. Raju Shukla Sahab is a vice president. Now, treasurer as well as secretary, these two positions changed recently. Earlier, Jai Shah Sahab was the secretary of BCCI. Now, Jai Shah Sahab is replaced with Devajit Saikia. So, Devajit Saikia become the new secretary, as well as when it comes to the treasurer, Prabhajit Singh Bhatia become the new treasurer of BCCI. These kind of questions they do ask in the exam. They're obviously only for the phase 1, not for the phase 2, but very important because they do cover the sports section in our exam and we need to cover all types of news. BCCI, obviously 1928 it was created. Mumbai mein iska headquarter hai. The president of BCCI is Roger Binni sir. Remember that name. We'll go to the next question. Which bank is spearheading the state level bankers committee initiative for Mahakumbh Mela by offering AI driven customer support, forex transaction facilities, on-site ATMs and coin vending machine? State level bankers committee. State level bankers committee is very important for the financial inclusion. So everywhere in every state in India we have this स्टेट लेवल बैंकर्स कमिटी, और जिस बैंक की ब्रांचेस ज्यादा होती है, जो बैंक थोड़ी सी स्ट्रॉन्गर होती है, वो इस कमिटी को लीड करेगा. नाउ बैंक ऑफ बड़ौदा इज राइट नाउ लीडिंग this particular initiative for the Mahakumbh. So Bank of Baroda implementing the AI driven relationship manager, ATMs, coin vending machine, because especially in the Mahakumbh we have that ritual of putting coin into the river and projecting your wishes. So in that way, as well as we have some we have some forex facilities also, because many foreign tourists are coming for the Mahakumbh, and for that reason this kind of banking facilities developed by Bank of Baroda in Mahakumbh. Bank of Baroda is leading this state level bankers committee. That is another important point for the exam point of view. We'll go to the next question. Odisha has become the 34th state to join Ayushman Bharat Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Which existing health insurance scheme will be converged with the Ayushman Bharat in Odisha? So Odisha, West Bengal and Delhi, these three states were there जहाँ पे Ayushman Bharat नहीं था. But now Odisha decided to join Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana, 5 lakh per family health insurance scheme for secondary and tertiary healthcare, which we have already discussed. Only West Bengal and Delhi is left now with this Ayushman Bharat implementation. But anyways, Odisha had their own scheme for the health insurance, and the scheme was named as Gopa Bandhu Jana Arogya Yojana. That was the name of the scheme जो पहले से ओडिशा में थी. इस स्कीम को भी मर्ज कर दिया है आयुष्मान भारत जन आरोग्य योजना के साथ. Remember one thing, If some state is not implementing certain scheme of government of India, that is their constitutional right, and there must be some alternative that state is already having for the implementation of such kind of scheme. So there was one alternative in Odisha, and that alternative will now be get merged with the new Jana Arogya Yojana implementation in the state of Odisha. Of course, Mohan Charan Majhi sir is the chief minister of the state of Odisha. That is another important factor for the exam point of view. Yes, next question for the day. What was the wholesale price index based retail inflation? Sorry, it should not be the retail inflation. Okay, in December 2024, as reported by the Commerce Ministry. Wholesale price index फिलहाल December month का क्या number बता रहा है? Given by the Commerce Ministry. CPI is for the retail inflation, WPI is for the wholesale inflation. But obvious है. The wholesale inflation or WPI is given by the Commerce Ministry. The numbers of the retail or the CPI is given by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Answer is 2.37 is the answer. 5.22 is the CPI numbers which we saw day before yesterday, and 2.37 is the WPI number which was recently given by the Commerce Ministry. Next. India signed an agreement with Saudi Arabia for Hajj 2025, finalizing quota of 175,000 pilgrims. India's Union Minister for Minority signed the deal in Jeddah with the Saudi Minister of Hajj and Umrah, Tawfiq bin Fazwan Al Rabiha, who is the Union Minister of Minority Affairs in India. So, Indian Minority Affairs Minister was in Saudi Arabia, and we signed few agreements with them. Especially Hajj quota is a very important thing. Many Muslim citizens from our country, they are visiting Hajj every year, but there is a quota decided by Saudi Arabia for every country. कितने लोग वहां पे आ सकते, so that they can handle the crowd, they can handle the particular scenario. And for that reason, we recently signed one agreement. 175,000 Indian citizens will be allowed for the Hajj pilgrimage in 2025. So the Minister of Minority Affairs is Kiran Rijiju sir. He's also handling the Parliamentary Affairs Ministry right now. So he's handling two major ministry, Minority Affairs as well as the Parliamentary Affairs Ministry. So he visited Saudi Arabia and signed the agreement with Saudi Arabian government. So next question. Which new fixed deposit scheme has IDBI Bank introduced for customers age 80 years and above in Jan 2025? So recently, Chiranjeevi fixed deposit scheme launched by one of the Indian bank recently. I guess the name is already here. So IDBI unveils Chiranjeevi Super Senior Citizen Scheme with a rate of interest of 8.5%. So super senior means those who are 80 years and above. Senior means 60 years and above till the age of 80. 80 के ऊपर अगर होगा तो उसको हम super senior ये नाम देते हैं. So for super seniors we launched this scheme. There are some other schemes also. By the way, this IDBI Super Senior Chiranjeevi scheme is for 555 days. Tenure is 555 days. Interest rate is 8.5%. There are some other schemes also launched by the IDBI Bank. Obviously, these schemes are attract more and more customers and to increase the deposit of the bank. That is a major reason behind such kind of initiative. Next, how many persons can an investor declare as nominee under the revised SEBI rules for demat account or the mutual fund folios? So in mutual fund now, SEBI decided to make some changes, and according to the SEBI, who is a regulator of mutual fund, that now how many nominees can be given or can be selected for the mutual fund investments. So now as many as 10 nominees can be the part of mutual fund now. When it comes to banks may be niyam change ho gaye. When it comes to banks, we can have 4 nominees now. Okay, and when it comes to mutual fund, we can have 10 nominees now, and these mutual funds are under the regulation of SEBI. So SEBI announced and SEBI made some changes when it comes to these nominations. We'll go to the next question. The first edition of Kho World Cup started at Indira Gandhi Indoor Stadium, New Delhi on 13th of Jan. Who is leading the India's men's team in the Kho World Cup? First time Kho World Cup India में organize किया जा रहा है. First ever World Cup actually, and we are organizing. Basically, Kho originated from India itself. Maharashtra is the birthplace of Kho when it comes to India. So very important World Cup. Of course, there will be multiple questions around that. So who is going to, or who is leading the Indian men's team in this Kho World Cup? So first of all, we'll talk about the answer. Okay, so 15-member Indian men's team is led by Pratik Vaikar, whereas the women's team by the Priyanka Ingre. So these two players, they are leading the Indian team. One is Pratik Vaikar, and for women's team, Priyanka Ingre. Remember that. Total, how many teams are participating? So 20 countries men's and 19 women's team are participating. So 20 men's and 19 women team are participating into this Kho World Cup organized in New Delhi. Indian team, both male and female, or the men and women team, both are into knockouts right now. Okay, they won all their the initial matches and now into the knockouts will be again a very important. Another question they might ask, because Kho World Cup पहली बार हो रहा है, so to create awareness about the Kho, another question can be asked, how many players are there in Kho? So total 9 players from each team can actually take part into the event or in the field. Total there can be 12 players, but 9 players, they are going to play the actual game on field. Other will be the replacements. So that is another factor. Just you need to keep watch on that, because first time World Cup हो रहा है, तो कुछ technical questions भी exam में पूछे जा सकते हैं. Okay, we'll go to the next question. Next question is about the National Turmeric Board. Recently, Piyush Goyal Sahab, Commerce Ministry, announced the creation of National Turmeric Board. Even the Prime Minister of India, through social media, gave the information about this. So 4 pointers are there. Which is the correct pointer, or which of the above are the correct statements? That's the question for you. The National Turmeric Board has been inaugurated at Vanijya Bhavan in New Delhi. Pale Ganga Reddy has been appointed as the first chairperson of the board. Headquarters of the National Turmeric Board is located in Hyderabad. India is second largest producer, consumer and exporter of the turmeric in the world. So what can be the answer? Yes, India is the largest producer. So fourth is wrong. India is the largest producer when it comes to turmeric. So ये तो statement wrong है. Headquarters of this is in Nizamabad. Headquarters is in Nizamabad, obviously nearby Hyderabad, but the altogether different city. So headquarters is in Nizamabad. The head or the chairperson is Pale Ganga Reddy. So this statement is right. And the function was organized in New Delhi. New Delhi में function organize किया गया था. Headquarter Nizamabad के अंदर है. So Pale Ganga Reddy is the new chairperson. India is the largest or the biggest producer as well as exporter of turmeric in the world. So more than 70% production of the world turmeric is in India, and more than near about 63% export is from India when it comes to turmeric. So we are the largest producer as well as exporter all over the world. That will be important factor. So answer is 1 and 2. Third and fourth statement is wrong. So these were few questions which we have discussed. Now we'll go to the news. The first thing, like I have mentioned, Startup India. So National Startup Day we are celebrating right today in our country. So we'll discuss few schemes around startups in India mentioned by Government of India. That will be our major focus. But before that, trade deficit is raised to 21.94 billion as gold import fall. So recent data के हिसाब से gold import देश का कम हो गया, और gold import कम होते ही the deficit, the trade deficit of India also get reduced. Just give me 1 minute. We will start the board. Due to say electricity fluctuation, this sometimes happens. So yes, like last time we discussed about some number fiasco. If you remember, the numbers of gold import, the numbers of silver import, numbers of precious metals, the numbers were not that good. There was some complication, there was some issues. Finally, Government of India decided to accept the new numbers, and according to the new numbers, the trade deficit of our country is reducing. It's a good sign actually, because we are so much dependent on the precious metals. If we are going to reduce the import of precious metals, of course it will be helpful to reduce the trade deficit, and that is the main focus of Government of India from so many years. Finally, we are able to see the results. But anyways, the precious metals are very much loved by common Indian citizens. They are very much in love with the gold as well as silver and other precious metals on the name of investments. But that creates a huge burden on the Indian trade, and that is the point mentioned by Government of India. And that's why we started with one scheme called as a sovereign gold bond scheme, so that if people wants to invest into the gold, they can invest into the gold, but उसके बदले फिजिकल गोल्ड यूज नहीं होगा, उसके बदले गोल्ड इंपोर्ट कम किया जाएगा. That was a major focus, but unfortunately the scheme is not working that well. So government of India last time was thinking to change the scheme or to cancel the scheme, but we don't know right now because we'll wait for the budget what government of India is going to do with the scheme for the gold use or the gold investment. So let's see the numbers. The numbers are like trade deficit is now 21.94. So import reduce ho gaya. Export is also increased. 38.01 is the export right now. But still, we are very much in a higher side when it comes to the import. So numbers are really, really good. So this is revised number. Okay, last time 14.8 was the expected number. So revised number is 9.8. So kind of a better angle. Every month, these are the every month's number. Of course, we need to wait for the whole financial year. Might be the survey will give us a proper data, but still, even after the end of the financial year, we'll get the proper number that 24-25 का जो financial year है उसमें हमारा trade किस तरीके से work किया. So those numbers will be really very important for the exam. Right now, we are covering this news just for the sake of, because there is a reduction of the gold import and that is a major factor. But rest of the things are kind of easy for us. ठीक है, चलो आगे बढ़ते हैं. Next point की तरफ जाते हैं. Infosys Tennis Australia launched Gen AI packed innovations. Now this is very important news. First of all, Infosys having their own AI concept, and that concept is called as a Infosys Topaz. Infosys Topaz is a very, very famous concept created by Infosys. It's a AI first suite offering for new generation AI. So now generative AI के एंगल में ये पहले याद रखिएगा, इसके ऊपर सवाल पूछते हैं. Now Tennis Australia. Now we'll go to the tennis. Right now, Australian Grand Slam is going on. So Grand Slams, basically Australian Open, French Open, Wimbledon, and US Open. They are the 4 Grand Slams we have. So the year starts always with the Australian Grand Slam, and which is going on right now, or Australian Open, we can call it. Infosys is already the partner of French Open. French Open का partner already Infosys है. So French Open का जितना भी back office है या French Open के जितने भी softwares है or what are the digital data, it is handled by Infosys. Now Infosys also having the tie-up with the Australian Tennis Australia. So Australian Open. So whatever the AI facilities, whatever the digital facilities for the Australian Open is now also handled by the Infosys. So Infosys is the Indian company, Indian multinational company handling 2 big events respect to the tennis. One is the French Open, another is the Australian Open. So that's a big news. Questions will be asked. Even Infosys is trying to cover the Wimbledon, which is organized by the UK as well as US Open. But right now, they don't have such kind of agreement with these 2 countries. But with France and with Australia, Infosys is having the agreement. We have good relation with both the countries, not only when it comes to Infosys, but for overall, we are having very good relation with the France as well as Australia. So that's why we can see the result over here. So that is a major factor. Questions can be asked not only in the sports angle, but also for the business point of view. So we need to keep watch on that. Now, RBI to hold daily VRR auctions from the Friday. So the move is to liquidity concern and set to begin with 50,000 crore. That is the point mentioned by the RBI. So from tomorrow, RBI is going to conduct daily VRR options. So now what is VRR? VRR is variable repo rate. Okay. It is a mechanism through which RBI permit banks to borrow funds at rates determined by the market, differing from the fixed repo rate at which banks borrow directly from the RBI. So basically repo rate, we are having 2 things. One is the fixed repo, another is called as a variable repo or auctionable repo, जिसे हम लोग कहते हैं. Fixed repo, can you tell me what is a fixed repo rate right now? So rather than that fixed repo rate interest, what are the market driven interest rate is there, depending on that banks can borrow the money. And that will give more liquidity to the market. So to increase the liquidity in the market, RBI sometimes use these VRR options so that the liquidity can be managed. If RBI wants to absorb the liquidity, RBI also use VRRR. Okay, that is variable reverse repo rate. ये भी RBI कई बार use करते हैं, but right now we need to pour more and more liquidity in the market, and that's why VRR will be implemented from the Friday on the daily basis. They are initially targeting 50,000 crore worth of liquidity should be in the market. That is a major focus. Of course, if demand will increase, then the liquidity will also get increased. That is a major focus. 6.50 is the fixed repo right now. Very good. So this will be depending on the market forces. ये market forces पे depend करेगा. Typically 14 days के हिसाब से work करेगा. Typically, but not compulsory. VRR serve as a means of inject short-term liquidity into the banking system. That is a major focus. एंड एग्जैक्टली उसका अपोजिट VRR होगा कि सेम तरीके से वर्क करेगा बट इन अपोजिट एंगल टू एब्सॉर्ब द लिक्विडिटी एंड RBI follows this suit for the short term. Now in the next month there will be monetary policy. So before the monetary policy we are working on this injection of more liquidity into the Indian market. That is a major focus. So from Friday, from tomorrow, they are going to implement this new facility. So of course questions will be asked. Right now their focus is 50,000 crore K, which I have already mentioned over here. Let's see what they will achieve through this particular scenario. Okay. Now the big news, and the big news is about the startups in India. So from 500 to over 1,59,000 startups in 9 years. Like I have mentioned earlier, today we are celebrating National Startup Day. 16th of Jan 2016 we started with Startup India and Stand Up India. That time we only had 500 startups. Now the number is 1,59,000 startups in India. So the huge increase, काफी बड़ा increase है. If we'll talk about the funds raised by the startup in 2016, only $8 billion. And from 16 to 2024, December 2024, we raised near about $155 billion from the market. So huge amount of money. If we'll talk about the women director in the startup, right now we have 73,151 women director in the startups, as well as 1.66 million direct jobs created by startup sectors in India. So this is the concept. So in 2016, Government of India officially launched in the month of Jan, officially launched Startup India. This is the launch photo. Prime Minister Sahab is there, and till this date we achieved many important things. So what we have achieved and what are the numbers? So those all numbers are here for the exam point of view. So remember that. Then the core features of the Startup India scheme, that is one of the important part for the exam point of view. Ease of doing business is a core feature, that is a major focus. Second focus is tax benefit. For 3 years, we are not imposing any tax on the startup companies. That is another feature. Then funding support, near about 10,000 crore fund created by the Government of India so that they can support startups with the funding, initial fundings. And the last but not the least, sector specific policies are also created so that startup of different sectors get the different boost, like agriculture startups or the financial startups or the fintech based startup or education based startup. So different policies also created by the Government of India. Now 3 schemes for the funding which are very important. The one scheme is called as the Startup India Seed Fund Scheme, which was launched in 21-22. So 21-22 के बजट में हमने 4 years के हिसाब से Seed Fund Scheme launch की है, and that scheme we have right now. So again, a very important seed fund is basically the initial funds which companies requires. So किसी भी कंपनी को स्टार्ट होने के लिए जो इनिशियल फंड चाहिए उसे हम लोग यूजुअली सीड फंड कहते हैं. Then another scheme called as the credit guarantee scheme for the startup. This is again a very important scheme. So near about the credit guarantee of 555.24 crore provided by the Government of India till this date under this particular scheme, which is again important factor. And funds of funds, which I was talking about, the 10,000 crore funds of funds was launched in 2016, June 2016 by the Government of India under SEBI's supervision, so that there should be a proper fundings available for the startups in India. These are the 3 major initiatives of Government of India जिसके ऊपर question पूछ सकते हैं. There are some other initiatives like capacity building, hand holding, outreach awareness program, as well as the ecosystem developments for the especially focusing on northeastern states, then international exposure linkage through G20 countries, then the other encouraging ecosystem in India for different sectors. So these are some initiatives. Recently, in the month of September 2024, Government of India launched a new portal called as a Bhaskar. Bhaskar portal is for all the startup companies, kind of a one-stop solution for all startup companies. A unique ID called as a Bhaskar ID will be created, and every startup should get registered so that Government of India can communicate with the new policies. Startups can share their problems, their feedbacks. Even startups can communicate with each other to innovate or to develop something new. And for that purpose, the DPIIT under Commerce Ministry launched Bharat Startup Knowledge Access Registry platform in September 2024. So remember that factor. Another thing which we are going to start on in the month of March, 7 and 8 March, the 5th edition of Startup Mahakumbh. स्टार्टअप का महाकुंभ इज अ कंसेप्ट विच वी आर लॉन्च इन 2019 में हमने इस कंसेप्ट की शुरुआत की थी. So the 5th edition of this Mahakumbh Government of India is going to launch on the 7th of March, 7th and 8th March. This Mahakumbh will be there. The purpose of Mahakumbh is that all the startup companies will come together. They will share their ideas. Some innovations are there. So obviously Government of India is going to support those innovations. Even the venture capitalists and the angel investors can come communicate with the startups for the new ideas. They can give some funding. So to raise funding, to raise the Indian startups, we have this Startup Ka Mahakumbh, and it will be organized March 7 and 8 in New Delhi. That is announced by the Government of India. So remember, these factors will be of course important for the exam. Now, India building 16 Navy ships likely to see 3 trillion return, Prime Minister Modi. Yesterday, Prime Minister of India launched 3 important ships, and these 3 ships, I will say 2 ships and 1 submarine, handed over to Indian Navy yesterday in Mumbai by the Prime Minister of India. First, we'll talk about those ships and submarine, and then I will come back to this news, which is important for us. So, one ship called as the INS Surat, it is a destroyer class ship. Another is INS Nilgiri, it is a frigate part or the frigate type of ship, and submarine, Scorpion class submarine, Vakshir. These 3 big launches for the first time in the history of Indian Navy. पहली बार 3 बड़ी चीजें एक साथ launch की गई. These 2 ships and 1 submarine created or built by Mazgaon Dock Shipyard Limited, the company owned by Government of India, headquartered in Mumbai. So that company created this particular these 2 ships, 1 destroyer, 1 frigate, and 1 submarine. That is the most important part. We'll talk about these ships and submarines in detail, but before that, we'll go back to the news. The news is that Prime Minister of India announced that 16 Navy ships we are building by ourselves. So we are not purchasing ships from other countries. Might be we are having technological support with some other countries, but the building of these ships will be in India. So we are going to get 3 trillion in return, because we used to spend that much amount of money for import. But right now, that money won't be spent, and we are going to build the ships so other countries can also give us order. So export can also get a boost due to such kind of initiative. Most of the ships are created by Mazgaon Dock Shipyard Limited, Goa Shipyard Limited, and Garden Rich Shipbuilders Limited. They are the 3 big companies owned by Government of India. Mazgaon Dock Shipyard Limited, Mumbai, Goa Shipyard Limited, but obvious in Goa, Panji, and Garden Rich Shipbuilders is based in Kolkata. So these 3 companies are very important. Other than that, obviously private companies, like yesterday we talked about L&T. L&T is also having one of their shipbuilding business in Chennai. They also responsible for the manufacturing of ships in India. So this is really very important. So questions can be asked in the exam. So remember that factor. Now we'll talk about these ships and submarines in detail. So first, Nilgiri. Nilgiri is a destroyer class ship. Nilgiri is a frigate class ship. So already we have some ships lined up: Nilgiri, Himgiri, Taragiri, Udayagiri, Dunagiri, and the Vindhyagiri. So under this project 17A, first ship, that is Nilgiri, is now presented to Indian Navy by Mazgaon Dock Shipyard Limited. Surat. So INS Surat is basically destroyer class submarine. So we have INS Vishakhapatnam, Morma Goa, Imphal, and now Surat. So Project 15B, and the last ship under Project 15B is INS Surat, handed over to Indian Navy by the Mazgaon Dock Shipyard Limited. Another important thing. Now, difference between these 2 ships: destroyer class ships are little bit bigger ships than the frigate. Both the ships will be used for the Navy's warfare, but you know might be about the aircraft carrier ships like INS Vikrant, INS Vikramaditya. They are the aircraft carrier ships, so very big and the huge ships. After that, destroyer, after that, frigate will come. So these are the kind of a classification of the ships. Then submarine. Submarine is Scorpion class submarine. Scorpion class submarine having two types of engines basically. One is an electric engine, another is a diesel engine. And this technology we got from France. So with the help of France, we created these submarines. Total 6 submarines are there. INS Kalavari, INS Kandheri, INS Karanj, INS Vella Bagir, and last one is Vakshir. So project 75 is the name of the original project under which these 6 submarines we have. We are also having one agreement for Scorpion class submarine with Germany's ThyssenKrupp. So ThyssenKrupp is also going to help us to build new submarines in coming years. That will be for future point of view. But right now, remember these things because they can ask the question in the exam. The last news of the day, and the news is very important. The Department of Financial Services, Secretary of Department of Financial Services, M. Nagaraju sir recently conducted one meeting with all the public sector banks, private sector banks, and some developmental financial institutions regarding schemes related to financial inclusion. So we have 7 major schemes regarding financial inclusion, and depending on these 7 schemes, there was a meeting organized by Department of Financial Services. It was actually announced by our Finance Minister Nirmala ji few days back that there will be a review meeting regarding these financial schemes or financial inclusion schemes before the budget. The purpose of this scheme, purpose of this meeting is very simple. How financial inclusion is going in our country, what kind of problems we are facing right now. So bankers will share their experience, government will share its ambition regarding these schemes and how to implement this scheme effectively. That is a major focus. Remember, they are the major 7 scheme. Financial inclusion's major focus is that socio-economically backward class जो है उनको financial system का part बनाना. इसके लिए we have जनधन योजना, जीवन ज्योति बीमा योजना, सुरक्षा बीमा योजना, मुद्रा schemes, Atal Pension Yojana, Stand Up India scheme, as well as the PM Vishwakarma, which was launched recently. So these schemes are there. Exams में of course इसके around questions आएंगे, तो थोड़ा सा आप इन schemes के तरफ ध्यान रखिएगा. Pixel is a Bengaluru-based private company, a private space company, and this company became the India's first company to launch its own satellite constellation. So यहाँ पे question exam में पूछा जा सकता है. This become the first Indian private company जिसने खुद के satellite launch की है. So Pixel, with the help of another company, is basically a Bengaluru-based company. So they launched this particular angle. The name of the another company is the Digantara. Digantara is the name of the company. So these two companies together launch this new concept of their own satellite system. So for the communication purposes, for the internet purposes, for the GIS purposes, these satellites will help companies. So Pixel and Digantara obviously going to lend their services, going to lease their services to other companies if they required. Like USA is having SpaceX, USA is having Blue Origin, they're having the Virgin Galactic. These are the many famous companies having their own satellite system. Even UK is having OneWeb. OneWeb right now is owned by Airtel, but still it's a UK system. They have their own satellite system. So we have our first own satellite system launched by Indian private company. That will be the big news. So we need to keep watch on that. Digantara is supported by Aditya Birla. Aditya Birla is one of the investor of this Digantara as well as the Pixel. Pixel also got the funding from Google. So they're the startup companies basically, and they launched this system. That's all from this particular news, and that's all from the today's current affairs session for the exam point of view. Okay. Yes, that's it, guys. We'll see you in the next session. We'll talk about the other news in the next session. Tomorrow there'll be current affairs session, and day after tomorrow on Saturday we are going to discuss some speed test or some questions or MCQs, mostly kind of a revision based MCQs for the whole week, but it will be kind of a speed quiz. So don't forget to join that. That's all from my side. We'll see you in the next session. Bye bye. Take care.